This whole year was supposed to be okay. We'll catch up. This is something should we go back a drop from yesterday because it was in the video, or should we? We were holding, um, by Pisco Shabbalam. We started yesterday. Thursday, Gimel Halacha Gimel. Okay, Bekitzer, we discussed the two holes by the corner of the Mizbeach that goes down to Nachal Kidron, and we spoke about the Tavlo Shoshayish that was right near there, that they would open up and clean, go down once in many years to clean out Krishay Dam. And we spoke about the Revuva, that was this little box in the Kevesh of the Mizbeach. So they would put Psulei Chatas Ha'oif, which was if a woman brought carbon al Safik. She's not sure if she gave birth. She's not sure if it's called a vlad, okay, and so she would have to bring a carbon, but it wasn't cut of the gabim. It wasn't cut of the gabim. That wasn't burnt on the mizbeach. Chatas. One of the karbanos that a woman brings is a chatas, because at the time Sman Leidasan, they go through so much pain. They make a net that they're not going to have any children. And we're shvuya. So therefore, they bring a carbon chatas. Pain, and but if it was a suffix, you can't bring it on the mizbeach. They would put it over there until it would be nifsa. I think it's very method.
You really learned to fish in hay.
Huh? Oh, that's it. I understand. Okay. Let's go. Let's look now, Bissel. So we went weiter. The mizbeach, the middle of the mizbeach, 16 amas and 32 amas. I didn't mention, but it's kedai to mention that there was a shetach between the kevesh and the mizbeach that was punning. It was here there. It was mamish all the way down. Was open space, because the chiyuv to be makriv on the marach l'gdela was the bizrika. They would stand on the kevesh and throw it over this empty space. Another thing I'd like to mention that when we stay in the
how big, you know.
I remember the midah being an amma, but I need to check it up. But I didn't want to learn it this year. I didn't learn it this year, so I need to check. And just another thing I'd like to point out from we're learning this a little bit up here, I didn't mention on Thursday, that when they made that grolus, on Mishoichet, Mizorik, Midashin, all the Mimakter, they made a grol on who's going to carry Roishba, Regel, Shlier, Yadayim, each part of the behemoth. That winning ticket was to bring. I mean, the one that wasn't a ticket, obviously, it was the one that won the prize. They stopped by him, and then the next 13 by him. But when they won, what they really won wasn't to throw it on the mizbeach. What they won was to take from the base of Mitbachayim, which we're going to learn soon in Halacha and in Mishnah Hay, that after the shita and the zrika, it says v'nita chaysel and sachar, cut it based on its katichos, and then they would clean it, and the shura of kohenim would bring it till the mizbeach on the bottom of the mizbeach on the right side. There was a kavudik kli. You don't see it in any pictures, but there was a kli or I don't know if it was a kli or it was just a mountain of salt. Kol karban fatak and melech, one that promised, the Eibishter promised, the mind tachton and boichim, that wanted to be anam boino lamav kam malka. We want to be by the water mayim al yainin that go near the Eibishter, and therefore he promised them they're going to take melech on every carbon from the water. So this sea salt they would put on every carbon, and then one kohen was the one that was makriv everything. He could go up and down, and aside from if the kohen gadol decided he wanted to do the avodah, then they would be magish to him, and he would just throw it over.
There's to be few kohanim over there. The way it says in the last segment, there's few kohanim. Machine is fishing.
Through Sadeshin. Okay. Let me get weiter. So we learned in the Mishnah Dal. I'm just being the katza for the Shtapshim in the future, I guess. The Avnei HaKevesh and the Mizbeach, they would come from Bikas Beis Karan. Over there, they would blot the steiner, and they would go with Psul Sakarka that's under the Akarais, under where the Charisha hits, because Barzel's Paisel Benegia, and then we said Gimel Choldover, that anything that makes up gimel, whether it's wood or any other material, it's place of the chadir, so it's clothing. If the finger gets caught,
That's after it's on the
after it's
mizbeach.
on the mizbeach, right? And one Evan is not placed. The other one, then we discussed to be able to make sure you don't have to rip out Avanim again. They covered it, whether it's Kamayim Bishana with Sid, with a layer of plaster. And then Rabbi says that every Erev Shabbos, they would do it with a mappa, and the Heichel they would do once a year. The Mizbeach was more dirty because it was more damp. And the Mishnah explained why Barzel is so mufrach, so ogefrek, because Barzel was created, so to speak, to be marked. Halacha Daled, we learned on Tzfeinish al Mizbeach, there was 4 Zdarim,
Mishnah.
Mishnah Daled, on the Tzafan side of the Mizbeach, there were 4 shuras of 6, or 6 shuras of 4, depending on how you learn. Yeshar Marbashal Sheish. And over there they would shecht Kakshu Kadashim, and then they would go to the Beis HaMitbachayim, which was reviewed. There was Amudim Nanasim, poles that had on them Revi and Shalayar, square box of arrows with hooks, and they would hang based on the height of the kohen. That's how he would reach. He would hang the foot to his Akuba. Close to know from Shchita, this same Sagidin over there, the hook we would put on the foot, and just holds the whole bit. They would cut it down, and then on the tables they would clean it. Okay. Because Shaish marble doesn't take the heat so well, doesn't absorb the heat. It keeps it cold, so it's not makal. Then we started discussing the kier. The kier was bein ulam v'la mizbeach, between this structure, the ulam and the mizbeach. And mashach klape darim was closer to the darim side. And then we went through the cheshbon of the 22 amis. Machlokes is how close they got actually to the mizbeach, based on how many amis were on the final landing right before you come into the ulam. And we already learned in the past that the reason for this special measurements by these steps that were different than all the steps in the Ganze Beis HaMikdash was, so a person shouldn't just walk in as if he's Vater and Hoif. Okay. Now, in Mishnah Zayin, we're finally going to discuss the Ulam and the Heichal. Now we're all in Mishnah Zayin.
Very good Mishnah.
Oh, yes? That's cool. Yeah. So, I just want to mention, because we find ourselves mamish in Chodesh Av, the Rebbe always mentions the medrash that says, Olo Ari b'Chodesh Ari v'Hechlevis Ariel, Amanas Sheyavei Ari b'Chodesh Ari v'Yibnes Ariel. That Olo Ari refers to Nebuchadnezzar, no Bavel, it looked like a lion. It was a lion, considered a lion. Chodesh Arya, which is the Mazel.
You went off from a check from the tactic from a arrange you went on the good cage.
Yeah, that was good. And saying it's possible. And the Hechler was Ariel, and he was Machir the Beis HaMikdash that was called Ariel. So it's just kedai to point. The Gemara says that the reason why the Beis HaMikdash was called Ariel, Lashon Arya as well, was because the Beis HaMikdash was just like a lion. The lion has the fur in the front, so it's Rachav Milfanav et Tzar Malachayrav. Same too, the building, the structure of the Heichal was Tzar Malachayrav Rachav Milfanav. And the Medrash concludes this was all on Manasseh Yavei Ayi b'Chodesh Ayi referring to the Melech HaMashiach, b'Chodesh Ayi v'Yivnes Ariel. And the Rebbe learns from this that it's that the only way the Eibishter Magid Dvar of the Yaakov Kulkum Mishpatim, the Eibishter is allowed to be Machar of Beis HaMikdash, that the Eibishter says b'Ferish Kilu Chamas El Eitz Malavan, and the Eibishter was the one that gave permission. The Eibishter, if there's a din, you're not allowed to Lois Asim Kein Lashem Alekechem, not allowed to be breaker. It says it's Misbachesei and Titoitsun Bashem Tisur from Beis Tigadeon. And Lois Asim Kein Lashem Alekechem says an Isser. That's what we learn the Yechiyuv of Gnezet from. So how's the Eibishter be Machar the Beis HaMikdash? Because it was Almanas. The only way you could ruin a Beis HaMikdash, you could ruin a shul, is Almanas to build a better one. Otherwise, you're not allowed to break a stone in a. My God, that just now heard. Why did the Kivart say B'Shem Haimroi Zakshin Bertlach from Rabbi Yishai? Rabbi Yishai Galach Shabbat before Shleima. He just chazed as he asked, we are our Parshas Beschana. The Abish that Moshe Rabbeinu bets to go into Eretz Yisrael. The Abish lost nicht. Was der schon getan? Was der schon getan? So he hit instead of talking. Alamai. This is Maseches Nefesh of Moshe Rabbeinu because we know. So he takes that. It's very nice word. What if Moshe Nitzchim? And if Moshe Rabbeinu would go into Eretz Yisrael, the Beis HaMikdash would be Nitzchim. B'meila, when would come a time that Kila Chamasai wouldn't be on Eitzim Alavanim, the Eibishter wouldn't be able to do it on the Beis HaMikdash.
Rabbi spitz about it.
Yeah, the Eibishter wouldn't be able to when the time that Yidden did Avedis.
Not that this this.
This words a mighty word.
The killing would be when I catch one.
That
Wouldn't be able to be zum Avonet, weil I say they mention it's
Nice and Moshe Nitzchim. The kids just to explain to the camera. If the Moshe Rabbeinu would come into Eretz Yisrael, the Beis HaMikdash would have to be La'olam Olam Olam. And therefore, when it would come a time, the Eibishter was so angry at the Maisim of the Yidden, the Eibishter wouldn't be able to let it out, so to speak, as it says, Kil Chamase Aleitzim Alvanim, and the Eibishter ruled the Beis HaMikdash instead of his children. That wouldn't be able to happen. So Moshe Rabbeinu Mesiris Nefesh stayed in Evel Yarden, and Kilo Moshe Rabbeinu Yan was also the Orach Chaim. Right, not to go without them. Right. That's also flawed. Yeah. Ever says about the Friedrich Tafen Yudal. Yeah. Okay, so having said this whole beer nirchav on Ariel, that's how we got there. On the structure, like Arya, now we're gonna see the Mishnayos on the Heichel. Zok the Mishnah. Pischoy Shalulam, the entrance of the Ulam Gavoy Arboim Amma Barach by Esther Mama, double from all the other Sharm of the base, 10 by 20. This one was 20 by 40. V'chamesh milteroy shel milas hayu al gabo. There were 5 lines. Shel milas is a type of wood. Shel ilon. And it was basically the beauty. Imagine if you have from 40 till 100, it's the empty space. So Mela in Hurdus's binyan, so he built it out of shayish that it says it looked like waves, Dali Ayam. But Stam in the first base I made, second base I made before Hurdus, it's empty. So they made a beautiful ornament, but it was a stick, 5 levels of this very important type of wood that was in the wall, and the next one higher, the next one higher, the next one higher, and each one v'zakter hatachtoino idefes al Pesach. The tachtoino was the same size as the Pesach, and right on top of the Pesach, it was actually idefes al Pesach am mizel. It's the size of the Pesach, which means 20 plus 2 was idefes. It was even more, so it's 22. The one on top of it, the second one, was 24. 26, 28, 30. Okay, five levels. 2, the cheshbon is, and this was a big chiddush because the etzem essentially like pasha that 8 could be the binyan of the heichel. This was made for beauty. It wasn't part of the binyan. That's some mafarshim explain why it was mutter, right? Let you see if you look in let's see first inside. It says al yayin shloishim mama. There was a line of stones sitting on each one. So let's picture a nice steiner that's like the Rebbe's place. Between each one. And if you look at the Yigatosis Yom, it explains mamish babinyan. They weren't mamish sitting inside because it would be a problem. Called eight and the name of the castle of the Mishnah. And there's other version that explained that because it wasn't babinyan, it wasn't part holding up the binyan, it was the yefi, and it wasn't the okay.
next the
Right, the letters, right? Now, the ulam, this Rachav Milfanov was very high and very big. There was 30 amas in. Basically, there was 40 amas. This was actually 40 amas for the height. So
7.
Sorry. 70 amas, right? 70 amas wide was the width of the heichal, Kirchen Dashim, and the Mela there was 15 amas on each side. 15 amas, which was the only thing supporting. We're talking about 100 amas height. It's this tall. very in
No two floors. Supposing here
right.
was
Over
two
here there were
floors.
2 floors, right. The top, second floor.
It was open all the way to the top.
So it was mamish open straight. So we'll see it needed extra support. And big block from eres from cedar wood. That were holding up from both sides, the hechel and the ulam, but it shouldn't, so to speak, collapse.
Cave in.
They've been. And in the ceiling of the ulam, there were shasharoi shel zav, and shabayin pirchi kona oilim v'roim esataris. They were hanging down these big chains that they could climb up and see crowns. These are Shnamar, it says in Tzchai, Bataris Tir Lechelim Letuvia Oliyadaya Olachem Ben Tzvanyel Zikarim Beichel Hashem. Certain 4 people that donated crowns, so to speak, like Kesser Leibishter, Kesser Teira, and it was on top over there. I seen pictures. I don't know if Mefa or Lokimida, that there were windows in the Heichel on top, in the Ulam on top, that people also from outside were able to see this crowd. Often there were crowns up there, and not only that, Kol Mishayim Misnadav, anyone after them that wanted to.
Because in the Bartanur of Rainis Athar Shabachalanis Shalhik.
Oh, it's the Bartanur brings it.
No, but the Chalenus wasn't in the Ulam.
Because it sounds like.
I don't know where the Chalenus were, but you could see through the
that there were chalanis. It's a chiddush to say that they were chalanis towards outside of the ulam, because then what do they need to climb up? Was that from Zekrichem if they could just see from outside? But some people do. Maybe it was in the chalanis, like Rabbi Vovsky saying, the chalanis of the Heichel.
It's the Chalenus you saw it through.
Huh?
Could be that the Chalenus you saw it through. Not crept up and top to see through the Chalenus.
Right. I was saying some people describe this chalanis.
Yeah, same, yeah.
Okay. And not only them, Kol Mishum Misnad, if anybody wants to donate Ola, whether it's a blettel, a leaf, a gargir, or a grape, a eskel, a whole cluster of grapes, maybe V'toilabo, he brings and hangs it up. Amr Abelazar Tzaddik, Ma'ase v'nimnola,
on these beams.
on these kunzai shalaras, v'nimnola shloishma is koyanim, from the heaviness of the koyanim, and they wanted to clean it, or they wanted to move it, and they needed 300 koyanim. B'chal, this 300 koyanim is a lashon of, the Gemara brings also, it's a lashon of guzma, and when the Gemara wants to describe it, was like huge. So it was also Gabi the Tapoch and the Mizbeach, 300 koyanim to take down the Paroiches, the Par Erte that is brought, and Gemara, Mishnais, Tamid, Mishnais, that is a lashon. So we were Messiah in Perek Dalid, and we started learning about the Aliyah.